where holidays made, you made some extra money. Things were busier, but those days are long gone. So it is what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, that's fair. Well, when you set up your network, um, you know, from a trucking standpoint here, obviously you've got your main guys, from your shipper standpoint, but how, from a planning perspective, what does that look like on a day to day basis? With your main guys, you're always trying to get them back home so you can grab another load. What does it look like from a planning perspective?
Well, I'm probably in a little bit of a different position than a lot of other companies. I've taken on some drivers that really participate in planning their weeks and their freight. We kind of have this little system put together where, okay, we go here, we dawdle around for the week, and on the weekend we grab these loads, certain loads that we do every weekend coming back. So they all kind of understand the system that we work in, and then there's some things surrounding that we do um, more and more of here. So uh, most people focus on the outbound freight and the head hauls. Uh, with what we're doing right now, there's these certain back hauls that we're building things around, and kind of counting them as our head hauls. It really doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's been a good partnership for us. So that's kind of what we're
Mm,
doing.
that's awesome. And when you get to those locations here, are you seeing, um, do you have a mixture of brokers and direct shippers? Is it brokers and brokers? What works for you on those back hauls? Because it's sometimes to find a shipper that gets you back to where you need to go is a way harder. I mean, we're needle in a
Yeah,
haystack here. What's that
yeah.
look like?
We have a small percentage of direct customers, but we have built with a couple 3PLs such a strong partnership. I
Mm,
just, hey, I consider them a direct customer at this point. We have these certain lanes that we do for them every week, and we are, a small company. They tell us time and time again our drivers do the best job. We're their number one carrier, and hell, they're their customer, man.
yeah,
There's different ways to build partnerships other than just direct shippers. Like
yeah.
there's a couple brokers. We've built partnerships with 3 other trucking companies to where we all help each other out, and they broker freight. They're not really out there to be brokers and broker freight, but when you have a partnership with another carrier, we kind of treat each other's customers as our own.
Mm,
And it's been, I'm really finding that those alliances and partnerships, I'm liking them better than direct customer freight,
Yeah.
because you have somebody, like if I take one of their loads and my truck breaks down, well, it's easy for my partner there to send one of their trucks or vice versa. We really do watch out for each other and each other's freight.
mm,
See, that's really nice to have. One of the conversations I've had this week, a carrier called in and he was over brokers because he had a bad experience, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, I promise you there's more good brokers out there. Don't let this one ruin it for everyone. But that's one of the phone calls I had this week.
really?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so important that you got to find the ones that stick.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Hmm.
it's super important. Obviously the relationship that you are talking about here with a broker that's not posting all their crap on a load board, they're actually going, "Hey, Adam, what do you got for this week?"
Yep.
How long did it take to get to this point in this particular trend for your trucks?
We've been doing that for them for about 3 years, and I mean, it's weird. It's to the point. Well, they were used to be in a different facility that we would load out of, and when my drivers would go there, they know them all by name. If you the people that work there, if you wanted to go grab some lunch, they'd let you take their car into town,
That's
because
awesome.
this was out in the country. Like they've gone out to dinners with our drivers. Like, I mean, when I would go out there every once in a while just to show my face and talk to these people. It's, let's go outside and have a conversation. We'd go sit in their car and talk for an hour about everything going on with the company. It's so different than anything else we've done. And I mean, newer drivers don't really see it at first, but after they've done it a few times, they're like, well, this is really different. I
Mm,
really like doing this. And they've they've taken care of us, as rates are tanking. we've taken some rate cuts, of course, but not nearly as much as the open market. And I tell them too, hey, I understand you have to do this, but I just want to make it clear we're sticking with you.
Yeah.
And there's been some hard times, but communication on that level goes a long way.
Yeah, that transparency is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, I love that. I think a lot of people just aren't as patient as they need to be. You've been around for quite a while, as far as a trucking company, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And these last 3 years, you found this relationship, but there was a lot of years prior to that, in different chapters of your trucking book
Yeah.
that you didn't have that type of relationship. I think really, honestly, that is so important that you, if one broker, God, I hate to see and hear that one guy got soured by him, but it's so important that you have direct broker relationships outside of load board. It's so important to do that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's one of those things. Oh, I wish I would have done this 20 years ago, whatever. But I'm glad it happened now, because besides the business, it's taught me how to have relationships with other people in the industry. So they were first, basically, and then I've taken what I've learned there, and just by happenstance or whatever, found some other trucking companies, like myself, and we end up talking. We find out we're like-minded, and we start doing business together. But then we both cling to that. We want to make sure that we're valuable to them, as well as us being, them being valuable to us. That's the key part, is giving as much as you take.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give. I mean, there was a few weeks ago when they called me and said, Adam, we had a truck breakdown. I deadheaded 350 miles to pick up their load, and didn't ask for more of a rate, and everybody's like, why would you do that? You lose money. Or I would never do that. Or did you ask for no money? No, I didn't, because I'm going to pull 100 more loads for them. They're going to do things for me. That's just what you do.
Yeah.
When you sometimes you eat a little bit of, sour grapes for the greater good. Not saying you do that every time, but sometimes you do that.
It'll come back around, though.
Yeah.
And
that was their customer, not my customer. But if it was my customer, I damn sure would have done that. So I'm damn sure going to do it for their customer, because I want that continued relationship with them.
See, I like how you have the mindset of, well, if it was a direct shipper, I would have done that for them. And it's a direct broker, so you do it the same way. I think it's so important. There's such an animosity between brokers and carriers. Right. And I think that mindset gets lost when you get into that, into that mode. I love the tire killers in that same sort of concept. He's like, hey, I got the same thing going with the broker. And I love that. I think it's so important.
Along the way, they're going to do something to upset you. You're going to do something to upset them. But it's like being married. You're gonna pick every fight with your wife. No, you're going to pick and choose your battles, right? Because to be honest, I'm going to lose most of those fights. But you're absolutely right with the animosity. Like, things will, if you're one of these people that lets Facebook get you hyped up, or Freight Waves, or whoever, Overdrive, you're just going to be miserable all the time. Once you can get past that animosity, you have a clear head, like, things are going to change for you. Am I saying that things suddenly become fair once you're past the animosity, or whatever your definition of fair is? Absolutely not. It's not. But you can't change anybody else. You can only change yourself. Once you change yourself, you change your business, you will find, actually, that when you change yourself, people around you will change too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's but whenever I'm in the truck stop or on YouTube or whatever, and I hear this, brokers are screwing us, or we need to shut everything down. It's like, man, you don't understand. You just don't understand that's the thing right there that's holding you back.
Yeah.
You're constantly looking for retribution, or think somebody is wronging you. You can't change that.
No.
But you can change yourself.
You definitely. I heard this from a broker the other day. Just said, hey, I just don't like the situation I've created. And it was kind of an interesting comment. And he was obviously, his balances of relationships were very skewed. He was living on one client, and that client was starting to lower himself. For the guys that are out there right now that have lived on that load board, that haven't really taken the time to build those relationships, but they don't like where they're at. They haven't gotten to that place. Where do they start, Adam? How do they get to this place where you're talking about? Because right now there's a lot of people out there that are struggling, that are legitimately going, man, I see bankruptcies every week. I see all this going on. How do they start? How do they get going to change the environment that they're in? Because there's a lot of them.
You're absolutely right, and I sympathize that people are struggling. I get it. We're not doing as well as we would like to do, but it's just you have to decide who you are and what you do, and then turn the noise off and go do that. If there's so many people. I won't run for less than X dollars. Okay, well then don't run. Maybe it's a different approach of, okay, I have to do this to get to that. These people that are so willing to shut their truck down over a few cents a mile. Well, guess what? Well, you're not out there running and meeting people. Somebody else is, and you're not going to be out there meeting that next person that could change everything for you. If you're not calling people, trying to talk to them about freight, even brokers, you're never going to meet that broker that's could change everything for you, or be put in contact with this person that knows that person. So right off the bat, you're kind of sabotaging yourself. But I'd say just sit down and have a conversation with yourself. If you have your own authority, own your own trucking company. I'm a trucking company. I haul freight. This is what I do. And then take and log out of Facebook, turn YouTube off, except for my channel and your channel. Educate yourself and say, here's my new strategy. Things aren't perfect the way I want them right now, but by God, I'm going to go do this, and I'm not going to sit here and let 100,000 people I don't know give me a reason why I'm not going to make it, or tell me not to do it, or tell me why they aren't making it. Somebody's going to make it through this. People are going to make it through this.
Yeah.
Some won't. If you are one of the ones that make it through this, think of how strong you are coming out the other side. Think of how well positioned you are coming out the other side. So, but then you also have to say, well, things are bad for me. I don't see any way out of this. Maybe I bow out now and live to fight again another day. There's no harm in that. Going out on your own terms, if you have to do that, if you're facing bankruptcy, if you're riding a sinking ship all the way to the bottom, maybe recognize that and don't let it take you down.
Yeah.
This is America. There's always opportunity to do this again or try to get back in. But just the noise, man, noise will destroy you.
Yeah.
People don't like to see you do any better than they're doing. So if they're sucking it up right now, they want to see you suck. Yep. And you might be better than that. So don't listen to what they say. It is rough right now. But you know what? We're in trucking. We move freight. We don't do that if we just pull the pin and sit at home till rates get better.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Jared's been saying it too. If you're not doing it, someone else is, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that, especially in this industry. I mean, if you're debating on making calls a day, you should just do it.
Yeah.
You're gonna learn a little bit, whether you're a carrier or broker.
Yeah.
Michael.
Let these hard times harden you and change you. Don't sit there stuck in your ways. Let these hard times change you. So let it force you to go out and make cold calls. Let it force you to go out and find new opportunities. Let it force you to run a sharper business to lower your cost per mile. Right? Be a piece of clay and let it mold you into what you need to be.
I like that.
That sounds like some Mr. Miyagi stuff right there.
I know. I like that.
That's so good. That's so good. Before we started the show, I thought this was interesting. You mentioned something, and I loved how you said this. Is you said, hey, I've been just trying to send one email a day, and I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I was on the road this week, and I ate terribly. I had Raising Cane's yesterday. I had Popeyes the day before.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Both are wonderful, by the way. But I love chicken, by the way. I'm just a huge chicken guy. But I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat healthy today. I'm going to do what I need to do in order to win. And I don't have to win every day. But boy, I can't go on a 14-day streak of Cane's and Popeyes. You know what I mean? So I got to win today. And I thought it was so interesting when you said, I've been sending one email a day. Talk to us about the importance of just seeing that motion of getting that going.
Well, I've been trying to actually do one cold call a day. So I also obviously have other things to do with the trucks and stuff. So I'm just trying to be reasonable about it. I'll say, I'm going to make cold calls one a day until I get a lead or get some lanes to quote. And then I'm going to work on that quote or those lanes until I'm done with that. And then I'll go back to doing one cold call a day. That's reasonable for me. I struggle to get to today sometimes. So that's a reasonable amount of work. But I also do this other thing where I have a fuel card that I market, trying to build this thing for owner operator community. So I've been doing cold calls for that too. So I either do one or the other, freight or fuel card cold. I've been having much more success with the fuel card thing. It's a totally different thing. But I've met some people in this industry that on a different side of things that I never would have met before. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But I've quoted some freight, not had great success with it. I did get a place down in Texas say, yeah, we'll give you some freight. This starts you off small. Oh, I'm like, okay, well that's cool. But I don't want to do that. Cold calling sucks, man. I'm not even that guy, but I have to become that guy. It turns out I'm okay at it. I'm not great at it. Maybe someday I'll be great at it, like you guys. But I have to. It's what the time requires right now. And there's also plenty of other people doing it. So then, I have to find a way to be different for them. And I've decided my differentiator is we have trucks. There's plenty of brokers calling. I try to point out right away, hey, we're asset. Whatever's happened to you with fraud and stuff, it's less likely to happen here. Here's why we're different. I immediately try to throw out some references for them. And I don't know. I haven't had much success, but I'm learning an awful lot. Right. We'll say that.
Yeah.
And, you've always said that next phone call could be, that next phone call could essentially change your life, right? Change your business. So, if you're always thinking you should take that next call, you should definitely do it. Michael has a good question since we're talking calls. When you're making cold calls, DIY, do you put any emotion behind that, or are you kind of emotionless? Tell me about your calls.
See, I'm not what you would call highly successful at that. So I can tell you how to do it, but that doesn't mean you should do it that way.
Right.
I just try to be me because I don't know any other way to be. If I try to be something I'm not, I'm thinking people see through it in a second. Mm-hmm. I can't be that upbeat guy and, hey, fella, how you doing? And pretend I care about your kids, because I don't care about your kids.
Yeah.
But I can be professional to you. I can be knowledgeable to you. I'll try to make myself valuable to you that way.
Yep.
Not that those other ways are wrong. In fact, they're probably way better than the way I do it. And that's probably why people are successful and I'm not. It's just and maybe that's something I have to work on going forward. But I got to get comfortable doing it this way first, where I'm just me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. I think that's important. I think just being real is probably more important than anything. I remember I used to shoot these videos back in the day, and I was like scripted, and I was like, I messed up, and then I was like, I think that rawness is more important than being perfect. We're not on TV. We're not, I don't have a multi-million-dollar gig with NBC here. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to be raw. Michael, I've seen both work, emotionless and emotions. I sell on emotions because that's who I am. That's what I believe in.
I'm passionate about what I'm talking about, so I'm not emotionless. I care about what I care about, and I can't help that. And
that's fair.
That's my shortcut. If we're being honest, okay, I look at myself and say that's my shortcoming. That's what I'm going to have to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that you said, and I think this is interesting, and we talked to so many carriers. A couple weekends ago, or a couple weeks ago, we talked about sales, percentages, and 44% of carrier or 44% of salespeople don't follow up after the fact, and I think for carriers it may like actually be in the 90s. I think it may be 90% of carriers don't follow up, and I I think what's really interesting is I really would like carriers to find intention with their relationships. Get a friggin' chalkboard. Well, nobody has chalkboards anymore, do they? Get some kind of something visual in front of you and put a circle of what your percentages are with direct brokers, direct shippers, and the load boards. And you've got to find a way to start, lowering this down. And that one email, that one phone call a day is honestly all it takes. However, Adam, boy, follow up is so key, and you
Yes.
just kind of breezed over it. You didn't even
No, you're right.
You breezed over it. You said, I get a quote, I get an opportunity to give them something, and then I go back to my one call a day, and I'm like, okay. So now we're talking about follow up. We're talking about taking a moment to go, hey, I got an opportunity for a quote. Let's make it an opportunity.
Right.
And a lot of people don't
follow up. I just don't put too much on me at one time. Then, like, I'm focused on this one thing. I can't worry about you over here until I've given these people what they want, and then we can have conversations again. But to put the hours into quote lanes, like I put 18 hours into work that one, thing to quote 25 lanes. So I'm not taking on. I'm not going to talk to somebody else till I'm done with that, because then I'm not doing good by anybody.
Right.
But that's only what I can handle. Somebody else can handle way more than that.
Yeah. And honestly, next week, set yourself a reminder in some kind of fashion to email them back, to call them back and say, hey, how are my quotes? Because boy, I tell you what, if you can at least get to the second follow-up, you'll be in the top 1% of carriers that are between size 1 and 50 that are actually following up. Because a lot of small carriers, even up to 50, don't even have a friggin' sales guy. You know what I mean? These are just the owner.
I mean, the last one I did, I'll be honest, I was probably a little bit too aggressive. I did her bids. I sent them back. I followed up with her. She kept kind of ghosting me. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna be a little bit more aggressive here. So I started sending her available trucks. Like, okay, you told me what these lanes are. I'm gonna start telling you every time I got a truck available in this city. So all I kept getting back was, no, I don't have anything. No, I don't have anything. So we're just gonna, on a timetable, maybe once a week, I'm just gonna keep trying to squeeze some kind of conversation out of her. Or maybe I blew it by being too aggressive like that.
But it could have worked, We had a broker, actually. He was emailing the shipper, kept ghosting him like you were saying, and he started sending like gifts instead of actually sending anything in the email. That shipper got back to him. They actually had a meeting last week. He's like, yeah, I can't work with you, but the way you sold, it was different than what everyone else was doing to me. He goes, I did want to meet you, kind of introduce ourselves, and maybe in the future it does work out, but you just got to be different.
Yeah. I think something, and this is for every carrier watching, something that you just said is more valuable than you can ever imagine as a carrier. In fact, when I worked for an asset-based company, obviously we're 200 plus drivers, but I got to say that availability list going out on a consistent daily basis, I tell you what, carriers, if you're watching this, you've got to save emails. You've got to build a available truck list, and you've got to start telling people, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. And something that I really believe in that I found to be very useful is take it one step further and just add that little comment in here that those fun retail folks say on Saturdays and Sundays downtown. They say, hey, by appointment if you let us know. They're closed weekends, but they'll come in for an appointment if you let us know. It's the same thing with you guys. You've got trucks available, but boy, I tell you what, that little comment at the bottom of that little thing, if you're looking for dedicated or want contracted rates, let me know. I would love to come see you and talk through those. And I think, I tell you what,
that's a good idea. Damn it.
I friggin'
Why didn't I think of
love
that?
carriers that do this because it shows consistency, it shows value, and this is what it's all about. There's the gravy right there, folks. We gotta continue to spread value. And how do you spread value? By communicating, and by communicating effectively.
Yeah,
I wrote that one down. That's
just need the
damn,
biscuit.
that's good.
We just need the biscuits. That's all we need.
Biscuits and gravy, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
I do too.
Michael, do I need to put myself up to make a cold call, or should I just call with no emotion? Brother, I think personally you got to bring your A game. And for me personally, if it's a smelling salt or smashing a Miller Lite, get yourself jacked up for that call. That's me personally, just because I've made sales calls before. And if I go in, just like, oh, man, I got to do this. Like, you're not going to bring your A game.
No.
You got to bring your A game. You got to bring, figure it out. But that's just me personally.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I think we had someone on here. His name's Tyler. One of the best enterprise broker sales guys I've ever met. He's managed. I asked him one time. I said, "How many millions of dollars have you managed?" He was over $100 million at that time in managed enterprise sales. Yeah, and he said, "You know what? Motion creates emotion." And he gets up. He does every cold call walking around in his house. And he gets up and goes and gets himself in an alpha state, because you're right. I think the mindset of making a cold call can be a little bit different. So
I try to smash a bunch of caffeine that morning before I call anybody.
I'd be curious too, like some of the carriers out there, that if they are making cold calls, if you're here today, feel free to share, but what gets you jacked up? Are you getting outside your truck, walking around? Do you feel more comfortable in your cab making calls? Or, what is that like for those people out there? You know what I mean? And, Adam, I don't know if you make most of your phone calls in your office, but if you're ever on the road, do you make cold calls? Okay.
So, I try to, just because of call quality, and I don't want to be dropping calls on people.
Yeah.
It's kind of rude.
Yeah. And you can hear the truck a lot of the times. You can definitely hear the truck. I thought it was interesting. I talked to this guy that this would have been about a month ago, and he was a carrier. He had 5 trucks. And I said, how is it going with, where's your biggest risk right now in the way you get loads? And he said, right now I'm only getting about 10% of my freight off of load boards. The rest are direct broker, direct. Yeah. And I was like, that's incredible. I said, how'd you do that? And he goes, Jared, I don't skip pre-trip on my truck. I don't know why I would skip doing calls or emails. And I said, well, how many are you doing? And he said, I do 1 a day. He's the funniest. Adam said this, 1 a day. That's all he's doing is 1 email, 1 call. And then he goes on with his day. And the next day he does 1 email, 1 call, and goes on with his day. And if there's somebody that he's kind of desperate to get, because his triangle is very, very direct. He's got 2 major clients, one up in Columbus, down to Indiana, over to Chicago, back to Columbus. That's his nut. He doesn't get out of that. And so he's got direct shippers and direct brokers and all that, but he's gotten to a point where it was starting to get really light up in Chicago for him back. And so he ended up showing up with his truck at a couple cold calls. And he was like, I'm going to go drive in there, park there, and say, hey, here's my truck. It's right there. Wow. I'm going to go do this. And he ended up getting this guy. And it was probably one of the most interesting things. But if there's a guy if there's a shipper you need, don't be afraid to kind of, just let's pull out all the stops and go.
Yeah. That's a good point, Tire Killer. There, that might even give them the wrong impression of you. They might think you'll be distracted with their freight.
Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Yeah,
thank you.
Really good.
Another thing is I like to get myself away from the truck. I'm not in the truck a ton anymore, because I don't want to be in that mindset. So I have somebody that I broker loads to regularly. We've become friends. He's like, man, if you ever need me to help talk to these people, I'm happy to do that, or check with these people. I'm like, no, please don't do that. And here's why: because he hasn't gotten out of the truck enough to stop talking like a truck driver. And because everything they say, he'll say 10-4. I'm like, please don't ever talk to a customer like that. Okay. And he doesn't realize he's doing it, and God bless him, because he's a great freaking guy.
Yeah.
But okay, we have to let's evolve just a little bit away from CB talk before we're gonna start calling. Don't talk on the phone like you talk on the CB. Okay.
Just a little.
Just a little. I'm like, please don't ever say that to a customer.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I can't get enough of that. Oh, that's so good. Adam, obviously, we appreciate your insights when it comes to sales. You're there, you're doing it. There's 6 months left of this year. Do you see your chances of getting, do you have it forecasted? I'm going to probably find 3 or 4 new accounts. What does the next 6 months look like for you when it comes to your sales mindset or your sales forecast?
I don't know that I'm going to, but I'm going to try. There's going to be a turn eventually. I don't even know that it'll be this year. I don't even know that it'll be the first half of next year. There will eventually, something will happen. I just want to be in their wheelhouse and having given them my information and have them know who I am and that we have assets. That's my hope right now, because honestly, it's tough right now. I'm not a highly trained freight salesperson. There is plenty of people out there like that. Those are the people I'm competing with to an extent. I mean, we offer different things, but I may employ the services of one of those people to go do some outside sales for me. I don't want to say we're in survival mode right now. We're just in a kind of a mode where we want to make it through, continue providing good service to the people that we are with. That's my primary concern right now, is the people we are with. Hey, I'm all in on them. That's my main focus. And if I do take on something new, we're not pulling away from those other people. We're in it for the long haul. And if it gets bad, well, guess what? It's bad everywhere. So they're quick to take away your freight. Well, so is everybody else. So, that's kind of the mode we're in right now, looking for new opportunities. But my main focus is keeping those relationships we have, because there's people trying to take them.
Yeah.
They've told me, the one place has told me straight up, like, there's people hot after this, so don't miss a weekend. Don't miss this. Don't miss that. Like, thanks for the heads up. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
there's a double broker out there right now that really is trying to get everybody's freight. It's real, man. It's holy cow. There's a lot of aggressive people.
I saw this thing on I don't know, Freight Waves or Overdrive, something. The government's trying to do this thing where it's a $10,000 fine now for double brokers or cracking. Ain't gonna do anything. They don't enforce any of the rules they have out there now, and there's already penalties for that that don't get enforced. So another new rule that's not going to get enforced won't change anything. So don't anybody get their hopes up.
How do you even find them?
Exactly. Well, with the new rules they made, they're supposed to be harder for chameleon carriers and brokers, but now with relaxing the rules to take away the waiting period to be vetted for your authority to go active, they can dump and recycle authorities faster than ever before.
Oh yeah.
They're never going to catch these people. They could start a new authority every Friday for double broker.
Yeah.
And the federal government, you know how fast they move. It's another cathartic measure. It's going to make people feel good, but it's not going to change anything. And I think that the bigger brokerages know that. They're not putting any hope in it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's ever. They just aren't. They're not going to pull it across the finish line. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Tire Killer, I agree with you. Nurturing is so important right now. Boy, howdy, just get out there, thank who you do have, and really spend some time. Send some handwritten cards. Do things that are just a little bit above the norm. Take a picture of your truck and you. Who cares if it's fuel? And just send it to them. Say, hey, I want to thank you for the opportunity to haul for you. Little things like that go a long way.
They do.
You don't have to do anything fancy. Just a quick, hey, thanks. And keep that email list rolling, guys, because I think as a carrier, boy, that's where you start to find they're like, oh, this guy's always sending me. He's very consistent. Yeah. That consistency is probably just as important as following up with emails and phone calls.
When you boil it all down to its basics, they need trucks. You got them.
Bingo.
Show them that you have trucks and you have trucks consistently. It all eventually comes down to that. I don't care if they can do better rate or better this or better that. If you don't have a truck, it doesn't matter. So let's start there.
Exactly. Adam, we appreciate you being on today, man.
Yeah.
It's always good to catch up with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I love Fridays. Friday shows are always fun. Great audience today, obviously. Again, thank you for being on.
Yeah,
Happy Memorial Day. I hope you get to spend a little time with your family and friends, a little barbecue and maybe a beer or two, and just kind of kick back. So.
Yep, I'll be live on my channel at 1:00 today, so everybody stop on in and say hi.
Yeah. Go check out DIY Semi. Like and subscribe over there. Be sure to do that, guys.
Yeah,
well, thanks again, Adam.
Thank
for
you.
those of you being here today, I appreciate that. We appreciate everyone just kind of tuning in each week. It's and we're here to help.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we do things like this. We just want to help you and give you some insights and just kind of give you an idea where to run with. Run with it. So be sure to check out eCarrierCheck.com and reach out if you guys ever need anything.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.